Yes, I just wanted to ask a question really about like which is a topic that people don't really talk about, which is like sort of post-awakening integration
Yeah,
with non-duality. So like coming to realize the self,
yeah,
but then integrating that into the world that you know like for me it's like waking up um and seeing that I am of nothing
yeah,
is is a shock,
yeah,
so it's like integrating that into what would otherwise have been uh, a life of going along believing everything, you know, as
yeah,
in the way that you were describing earlier
yeah, yeah,
at the start of the video.
yeah. So when you say awakening, is
Hmm.
do you mean like, because everyone says different things for awakening, so
Yeah, sure.
is it like a recognition of something, or is it like an energetic shift?
Um, yeah, that those it's almost paradoxical that
Yeah,
recognition and a shift, because it seems to me like there's uh, an whilst there's an intellectual recognition,
yeah,
there needs to be that energetic change, you know.
yeah, yeah,
Because for you know, as a lot of your listeners like suffer with depression, and that's definitely sort of in the background, and you know the quarantine
can I just
was
ask you not
go sorry.
to mention, I know this sounds like I'm really paranoid, but just if we just try and talk around these words that that's happening in our society
Sure.
at the moment, because Google
Yeah.
suppresses the videos. So if they have an
Okay.
algorithm that
Yeah.
goes through the video and then suppress it if you mention these things. So just call it
Yeah.
the C thing, and then like the Q thing.
All right.
That sounds
Okay.
terrible, the C
So
thing.
this thing has faced us all
Yeah,
with
yeah,
the you know, life has just taken it out of our human conditioning
yeah, yeah,
terms, you know,
yeah,
and so it's like for everyone there's a no matter what level, you know, again words, this is just words, no matter
yeah,
what level of understanding a person is at, there's been a shift in what was previously
yeah,
what they
yeah,
called their lives or thought of
yeah,
their lives to be. um and so yeah, like for me there's a feeling of being much overdue, sort of need to realize this,
yeah,
or dropping into this.
yeah.
uh so yeah.
Um, and and did it happen? Realize it recently, this awakening or this shift, or was it a gradual thing? Or
No, I think it's been years
yeah,
in the making, really.
yeah,
You know, like from meditation experiences and so on. But it's there's been a lot of clinging and depression,
yeah,
this a feeling that I didn't really realize that was in the background, which is actually, when it comes down to it, it's like a fear of life.
yeah,
You know, and that's a real childhood fear of not,
yeah,
which has been, that is the conditioning of not being made to not feel safe in the
yeah,
world.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
totally.
yeah, and that's where this division has
Yeah,
been coming from.
yeah. And when you said about speaking about like the post awakening, like what in what terms, in what regards did you mean? Like in what way is it affecting you at the moment?
Um, I think like I remember I've watched a video of yours that was talking about isolation,
Yeah,
and not needing to isolate. that's been a condition of mine. I've got, stretched so far into being alone, meditating, that there's always a tipping point where actually you need, like, the need to go out and to live.
Yeah.
So that's the, and of course this time that we're all going through has kind of inculcated that retraction.
Yeah.
Because it's like now there's a feeling to kind of go out and
You
to
can't.
yeah. And it's not the same talking to people on sorry,
Yeah.
being on your stream. It's not. It's just there's no. We are social creatures.
Yeah. And are you totally alone in the incubation period?
No, I got no, with my dog and my girlfriend.
Yeah.
So.
And you're in the UK. Are you able to go out walking?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Just...
Walking and cycling. Because I'm from Cambridge, that's a big thing here.
Yeah. It's funny. I didn't realise how I'm in Germany, and so we're also on the same program. We can cycle and we can walk, and then there's people in Italy and in Spain, and I didn't realise that they're only allowed to go out for shopping. I thought they were still allowed to go out for short walks. So that's pretty intense. Like just going out shopping and then it makes quite a difference being able to go out walking once a day, or cycling once a day. So it's not quite as fully intense as it is for some people. But yeah, it depends on what level we speak on, because on the level which might not be the level you want to speak about, so on the level of non-duality, it's absolutely no issue if you're alone for years or you're with people. Like from non-duality's perspective, there's that freedom that's there all the time, and it really doesn't matter. But then on the human level, like all of us have different dynamics and different chakras that are like lighting up in different ways, and we have different conditioning. Like all of us have specific conditioning, and I would say all of us have that conditioning that you need to be wary of life because it will come and get you. It will do things to you. And that is a chakra problem. And sometimes what we do when we've got that chakra problem and when we get into spirituality is we easily go into isolation. So we easily detach from the world. And on the level of that chakra, it's another illusion, and we tell ourselves that it's spirituality, like it's another idea that we get engrossed into, and it's actually following that chakra habit. It's not, it feels like it might be the right thing, but it's not actually really questioning that chakra habit. And I'm not sure which chakra it is for you. I would suspect that's more than likely the heart or the solar plexus. I don't know if you've felt in your body where that arises, that feeling of being scared of life.
It's the solar plexus.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Yeah, it's that contraction feeling.
Yeah. That other people or other things are going to hurt you. And if you don't know,
but it's even though this is the problem that with the intellect is there's no way of addressing it with that.
Yeah, no.
It's just has to be observed, seen, felt ultimately.
And you could, for years, I'm sure, with you and like I did as well, you didn't notice that was playing. So you could easily tell yourself a spiritual story that you're avoiding people because they're unspiritual or they've got bad energies or they're difficult. So it can become, it's very subtle, this feeling that can be really deep, and it isn't intellectual, it's an energetic, it's totally unconscious, like energetic bodily response that when it goes out and it's in front of people or it's doing particular things in life, it feels like something is going to attack you, like something is going to hurt you. But it's very subtle. It's not like you're in full-blown panic. It's like a bodily feeling, so it makes you withdraw from people and from life. And it's not, there's no easy solution to it. Like, it's just giving it time and space and not letting it dictate your experience. When it does dictate your experience, you can get depression, anger, lack of energy. Like, so it's challenging it. So that chakra is depression. It is a sense of stuckness. It is a feeling of being caged. It can also be a suicidal feeling, like a sense that you want to die. Really what it is that because that chakra is this feeling of being caged, it's like, it's the feeling of wanting to die or wanting to escape it or escape people is actually, you're trying to get out of that cage, that tightness that it's making you feel. And it's just recognizing it and seeing that it's absolutely not true. So when you go out with people and you're having that feeling that you want to go or you want to leave or that you don't want to do it, it's just seeing it for what it is. But I can get activated in that area around paperwork. That sounds really crazy, but I was very badly dyslexic as a child, and so sometimes like paperwork and things like authority, so like when you're doing business or something, this can sometimes be daunting for me, and it makes me want to retract and not do it. And I think that when you're open, life naturally puts these situations in front of you which makes you do it. And because you become so conscious of your body, like I can see when my body begins to close down to something. And so it's seeing that it's not actually the item, it's not actually the paperwork, it's that your body's closing down. And that if you close down to it and don't do it, then you'll never progress in that area. So it will end up revalidating that chakra. And I think anyone that has dyslexia, so you're saying you do, tends to have, well, I think a lot of people have problems in the solar plexus, but tend to have these issues more intensely sometimes because your whole schooling experience was, you can't do it, even though it wasn't, they're consciously saying that, it was unconsciously being told to you that you can't do it, that you'll be wrong, that you'll do things wrong.
Yeah.
There's also exercises, like energetic exercises that you can do for the chakras. You can find them on my website under references, like Osho exercises and breathing exercises that can help shift the energy in the chakra. So when you do have that coming up, so if you've gone out and done something and then felt that feeling intensely in your body, you can do these exercises which help move it through the body. But it's also important to see the non-dual side, that in the end, pain or pleasure, so if the chakras turn into pain, like the sense that you can't do it, that it's not your freedom and it's not your cage, that there's simply motions appearing and disappearing in this freedom of what you are. So it's holding both those perspectives.
Sorry, can you expand on that?
Yeah, like when you're challenging your chakras and when you're reconditioning yourself, it's easy to get into a seeking mentality and believing that your chakras are the problem and that they need to be reconditioned, and that will bring you freedom when you decondition yourself enough or when you release enough emotions. And in the end, that also isn't freedom. That tends to come with the path of non-duality, that you investigate feelings, that you release conditions, that you release old ways of being and you change. But it's not your freedom. Your freedom is always this moment. It's always beyond pleasure and pain. That no feeling, thought or experience will ever give you what you truly look for. That it's always found right here in the experiencer, not in the experience. And it's kind of like a delicate balance to hold the two, to really know that part of non-duality, that part of yourself that's always free, and then at the same time allowing your body to move towards expansion gently. So our bodies naturally want to move towards expansion. They naturally want to get rid of old issues, but it's not forcing it or believing that once you do a certain amount of chakra exercises, or you challenge yourself, or you change yourself on the human level, that you'll arrive at a place called freedom. That's another illusion. Your freedom is always right here in the experience. It's that which is experiencing what's happening. It's that which never leaves.
I think the I need to just sit with that more.
Yeah.
Because this is I suppose the trap that I'm in, this conceptual trap. Is like, well, okay, so like the Neo Advaita stuff is like, there's nothing, and which I do understand. It's like there's nothing to do.
Yeah.
There's nothing to do. But yet there is this body and this mind appearing, and it needs to take the dog for a walk and brush its teeth, and so so you're saying it's like the being in a middle place.
It's a delicate balance, because your natural feeling on the human level is always to expand. So, and that's a balanced feeling, and life is reflecting that. So what I mean by that is that the impulse of the body is to follow pleasure, not seeking pleasure, just this open pleasure. And the way that it moves through that pleasure will always be this feeling of expansion. So say, if you're thinking of writing a poem, what will happen is a feeling of pleasure will arise in your body, and there'll be a feeling of expansion of thinking about it, and then you'll write it down. Or say if you're a painter or an artist in some way. And so our body is designed to move towards pleasure, which is an expansive feeling. What happens is society often trains us to act out of pain. So it trains us to act out of fear. So you have to do this, otherwise bad things are going to happen to you. And it's actually like the wrong way to...
Lacking, kind of.
Yeah, like a lacking way. And that's okay that it conditioned us like that. But the best way in which I think to educate a child is to follow child's play. So the child will naturally move towards a pleasure which is expansive. So it'll move towards that which opens its heart, which it loves, basically. So that is kind of pleasure. The ultimate pleasure is this sense of love. Like when I was a child, so I'm a storyteller by trade, and what I mean by that is that I love telling stories. I'm a triple Gemini, and Geminis are known for being like the communicator. So even in teaching, I'm telling stories. Like I'm communicating you through telling stories. Like I'm not communicating you through singing non-duality. I'm telling you different stories. Like so everything's a story. Just by me saying there is a bed, that's a story, and I'm communicating non-duality through storytelling. And I also tell make-up stories. Like I like writing fiction, and when I was younger, I always moved towards that. I always moved towards play, which involved making up stories. Like so, I used to have like Surveillant families. Do you remember them? Surveillant families. You may be younger than me. And like these little toys, and I used to always be making up little different stories for them. And I used to have a hamster, and I used to make up worlds for my hamster to go through and tell a story. And that was heaven for me. I never had to put effort into it. I just naturally did it. And if I'd been taught in that way, I wasn't taught in that way, what the teacher would have done, so they would have homed in on what I loved and supported me to follow that. And I think that's the way in which we should educate kids. Not short-term pleasure, like going on to lots of like YouTube videos or something, or flicking through the internet, but this underlying love that we will naturally, all of us will naturally have. And this is how I believe that we function on a human level. If we weren't conditioned to be somebody and to function out of fear, is that our bodies will naturally move towards pleasure. And I believe that moving towards pleasure is a feeling of expansion, and that the whole of life is kind of always expanding, like evolution is expanding, the complexities of evolution is expanding, the universe is constantly expanding, our ideas as humanity is expanding, our abilities are expanding, the internet is expanding, like everything is always growing. Like, I know you could say that things die as well, but so say if you looked at a tree, like it grows and then it dies, but what's always happening is the tree is evolving, so it's expanding to be a better and better and more successful tree. Mm-hmm. And this is how I feel that the balanced way of moving through this life is. And when you have an awakening, so your natural essence, consciousness, is also this feeling of expansiveness and a feeling of endless possibilities. And I feel that when you have these awakenings, then your chakras want to vibrate more and more with that. And so they'll naturally find blockages and want to release those blockages and want to change that way of thinking. So when you've got like an idea that's coming from fear, so maybe like socializing is fearful for you and going out into the world and doing things is fearful for you, your body mind is naturally going to want to challenge that because it's out of line with your true essence. So once you get into awakening, it will want to challenge that, but you just won't necessarily see it in a logical way. Like you'll naturally be drawn to expose that and to go deeper into that and to recondition it. But what happens when you're waking up and going between waking up and still seeking is that the seeker believes that pleasure will bring you freedom, but pleasure will never bring you freedom. Like, so then it tries, like it over tries, and it goes, it's no longer this natural expansion, this natural expansiveness. It's like this trying really hard. It's like when I told that story about me as a child being drawn towards stories and storytelling, and it was just a natural feeling of love. That's in harmony with my true nature. But when the teacher is like forcing you to do things, that's more like the seeker, like you've got to do your maths, you've got to do this. It's more like teaching you to go out of yourself and to seek to do things. You've got to do this because otherwise the monster will come for you and you'll be in trouble, and then that encourages seeking. So when you're waking up, it's like this natural balance comes into play of you releasing that old way of being, that seeking way of being. But what can overtake is that you get into your mind that you've got to release all your issues in order to be free. And so therefore it becomes like an effort. You've got to get rid of your things, your issues, and you've got to do it, and if you don't achieve it, you won't be free. Whereas the truth is that your freedom is always here, and that is just a natural progression that will happen with this subject, unconditioning yourself and reconditioning yourself. So it is like this gentle balance, but it's not really even your balance. It's something that will naturally happen to you. Like even in us having this conversation, it's something that happened, like that's being exposed more and more. Sorry, I just went off on one. I don't know if you can still follow.
Yeah, no, so exactly, yeah, it's just it's happening. It's as you explained, like a retraction and then an expansion as this conditioning falls away. And really, I'm just watching it.
Yeah, and it will happen. Like life is your teacher. Like everything that you experience in your life will push you beyond your conditioning and your way of being. As long as as long as there's an open-mindedness there to seeing that, to being open to that. Like everything becomes your teacher. Like just in the smallest things, as in like you order a pizza and the pizza doesn't come, like you keep phoning them and ordering them. Like this is your teacher. Like that could trigger the solar plexus. Like that could trigger that failure thing from school. That sense that you can't do it.
Mm. Well, I mean, yeah, just when you say that, it's a sort of gratefulness there.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I mean, you know, I've obviously spent a long time doing this seeking
Yeah.
and listening to non-duality, and different teachers and different styles and everything. But like life is ultimately the teacher,
Yeah.
if you can call it that. But
Yeah. Yeah. And you begin to see it more and more that it, like in Course in Miracles, they say it's like seeing the coincidences or seeing the miracles, in the sense of when you really look from a bird's eye point of view, you'll see that life is always reflecting back to you and giving you the opportunity to overcome your obstacles, like that which holds you back.
Yeah. I'm really at the minute. I'm thinking. You know, when this when fear comes up, to kind of see it in a different way, and see these things in a different light, which is love.
Yeah.
As opposed to seeking them gone.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is, in the end, like fear is just a visceral experience. I say just, I don't mean to diminish your experience, but it's just chemicals flowing through your system. Like so fear comes and there's like a shocking experience and your body is panicked. And as long as there isn't too much an attachment to the stories or what you're afraid of, then it will just pass through again. Like it's not, fear always presents itself like it's so serious because it means the death of you, but it's actually not so serious. Like it has a limit on it. We always imagine that fear could get worse, like that if you don't do this, like the fear can get worse. But I've found from my experiences that fear has a limit, and you know, like it's the same fear. Like when you think you're going to die, like you're walking along and you have like paranoia and you think something's going to kill you or you're going to die, and that fear begins. It's the same as actually when you're just about to die. Like fear has this limit on it. It's not like an endless thing where you can go into infinite depths of fear. It's like an injection of energy that goes into your body, and then it stops at some point. And I think part of the paranoia with fear is that it's going to get so bad, it's going to kill me, like it's going to overwhelm me.
Yeah.
Which is it's quite it doesn't quite work in our minds like that. It's like we feel fear and then we want to run away from the object that we're afraid of, which is very natural. And part of that running away from that object is that the fear will be worse if the object comes and gets you, but it's actually not. Your imagination of fear and the bad thing actually happening are at the same level.
Mm-hmm.
Like fear, it presents itself more worse than it actually is. I know fear can be really awful. Like it can be such a strong experience, and it comes with so many things. Like in the sense that society doesn't allow you to express it. So if you feel afraid of something, everyone shames you for feeling afraid of it. So you have to kind of hide that you're afraid of something.
that definitely seems to be the sort of male conditioning.
Yeah. Yeah, it's maybe easier, a lot easier as a woman to be afraid of something, commit it.
Not necessarily say that, but
yeah.
okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Sorry, just
That's okay.
without cutting you.
Yeah. That's a pleasure, James.
All right. Yeah, I shall leave you there.
Yeah. Thank you.
Cool.
Thanks for the call.
Take care.
Bye.
All right.